welcome back to Diary of the Madman, the ultimate Ozzy Osbourne podcast where we talk about everything Ozzy and Ozzy related.
What's going on, man?
Not much, man. What are you into?
Nothing much, man. I'm just really excited to get going on our topic today. It's going to be a fun one. I do want to make a quick correction. We forgot to name the new Iron Maiden song last week, and it is called The Writing on the Wall. You know, like I talked about last week, the more I listen to it, the more it is definitely growing on me.
Yeah, we spent a good 3 or 4 minutes discussing that song, but never actually said what the title of it was, and realized later it's like, oh, yeah, we're kind of new at this. Bear with us. Another thing that we want to correct also, this is episode 4. Last week we called that episode 2, but the thing is once we uploaded these to go out to distribution to whatever you listen to us on, be it Apple or Spotify or Google or whatever, it would not let us title the trailer 0. Which is what we initially planned to do. So the trailer ended up being episode 1. So now we're actually up to 4. We're kind of skipping 3, by mistake, but it is what it is. So here we are at episode 4. And Dan, are you excited for this topic?
I am really excited. I mean, I think this one hits home for both of us, being such diehard Ozzy fans. I'm excited that, last time we dabbled into the Sabbath era, and we are 100% back to solo era, which I'm really excited about.
Absolutely. Today's topic is our perfect Ozzy Osbourne set list that he could actually pull off today. So it's not necessarily the songs we would want to hear the most, but it's the ones that we think if he did a set list today that he could still physically pull off on stage.
Correct. And we tried to make it as fun and, exciting as possible, where it's not the exact same set list, but we also tried to keep it as real as possible. So the set list is going to look very similar, at least mine, to an Ozzy set list with a couple of different intricacies in there, but we definitely set that parameter, Josh. He has to be able to sing it live.
Has to be able to sing it live, and the staples have to be there. So a little spoiler, not a big one, like Crazy Train's got to be there, because Ozzy's not going to go out and not do Crazy Train. So the ones that are the complete staples, they are still there, but this is the songs we would like to see around those that we still think he could do on tour. Speaking of being on tour, now that we're post-pandemic, a lot of bands are starting to go back out. Have you noticed the ticket prices lately on some of these shows, Dan?
It's outrageous, man. We were talking about the Judas Priest show, and I am still baffled, A, how expensive the show is, and more importantly, how few tickets they're selling, which is really a bummer.
Yeah, what brought this up between me and Dan and our friend Ryan, we were discussing the Judas Priest tour. They're coming to my area, and I was looking at how poor the ticket sales have been. And Ryan, he lives in the Chicago area, and he was looking at how poor the ticket sales have been up there. And one thing that we all quickly related was the ticket prices are really expensive. And to be honest, it's not a Judas Priest thing. It's a everything thing right now at this point. Tickets are expensive, and when you're on Ticketmaster, the Ticketmaster fees themselves are expensive. They can be $14 and $15. I know in my band, we've had shows on Ticketmaster that the Ticketmaster fee costs more than the ticket did, because we've had $5 shows and the Ticketmaster fee was like $7. And then
it's outrageous.
Yeah, it's completely ridiculous, and it's really driving the prices up. But prices are high in general. I just don't know how they really expect to win the fans back with ticket prices where they are. The demand is not there for that.
Yeah, and I know Rage Against the Machine was trying to circumvent the system, but I think they're expensive as well. So the whole thing seems to be out of control, and I'm not quite sure, how concert tickets come down. But then again, Kiss is selling $20 tickets over where I live right now, so for lawn seats, and that's perfect, man. If you're going to go see a show at a lawn, $20-$30 tops. That's how it should be.
100%. I've seen many shows from the lawn. I've seen Ozzy and Black Sabbath many times from the lawn. And
never.
There is nothing wrong with that. But, that ticket shouldn't be over $30. It just shouldn't. I think there are going to be a lot of rude awakenings this summer when these bands go out on tour and there's half-sold houses or not even that.
Right.
With these ticket prices the way they are and with the demand not being there. And there's so many bands on tour. You're having to kind of decide who you want to go see, because almost everyone is out, and you can't afford that for everybody. But like you said, Rage Against the Machine tried to circumvent that, and they kind of, I didn't dig that. They kind of threw it out there like, hey, ticket buyer, we're looking out for you, and we're going to make sure that the bots don't buy all of our tickets, and we're going to beat the scalpers. But then all they did was fucking charge more for the ticket. And it was crazy. Like, their tickets were $170, $220 each, something like that. And it was like, that's not cool. The ticket buyer's still paying that crazy amount for it either way.
Agreed. 2 things. One, what I'm noticing today, and it's been like this for the last, I'd say 10 years, everybody's touring like big shows now, right? So, there's mega tours. You're rarely going to see a band. Sabbath was kind of an exception. Metallica is an exception. But most of these summer shows, it's like just a huge bill, like 3, 4 great bands. I mean, even bands like Weezer, Green Day, and Fall Out Boy, right? They're doing stadiums. You got the Motley Crue Def Leppard stadium show. So it's crazy that all of these huge bands are getting together just to pull tickets.
Even those, though, those stadium tour tickets for Motley Crue and Def Leppard, they're expensive.
Oh, for sure.
They're not $19 and $20. It's changed so much in such a short time. I saw Paul McCartney at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati about 10 years ago, and I was near the top. It wasn't the greatest seat in the house. It could have been worse, but it wasn't the greatest. But I think that ticket was like $19.95 or $29.95, something like that. It wasn't crazy.
I went to go see McCartney on the same tour. I paid $250 for a ticket, but I was pretty close. One of the things, I'm spoiled, man. Once you get to a show and you're top 10 rows, it's hard to go back for me personally.
Oh, I've done it. I mean, I've been front row for Ozzy. Well, Ozzy solo once and Sabbath once, and I've had fifth row for solo for Ozzy on the Scream tour. Yep. Dead center stage. It is hard to go back, but I guess I view it from a standpoint of as long as I'm there, it's okay. It depends on the time and place and circumstance. If I got friends who just can't really afford expensive tickets or whatever, I don't see any fault in it. But of course, there's nothing like being down front. I mean, if you're
nothing,
it's totally different. And even just in the, if you're outdoor venue, just being in the seats in general is always a better experience. But some people, our friend Ryan, who we referenced earlier from Chicago, I know he prefers the lawn because he likes to drink. He's a big party guy. He likes having quick access to the beer stations, and he likes to get with his friends and drink and cheers and every damn thing else during the show. And that's just what they do. So it's different things for different people,
For sure. I actually do not drink at all when I go to shows. I try to stay as sober as possible because of just being at a large crowd. A lot of times I might be with my wife and kids or whatever the case may be. One of my buddies, they were at Slipknot. Listen to this shit. They were 4 of them, and the crowd was getting rowdy and everything like that, and they're sitting down in their seats, and all of a sudden they thought there was a leak in the roof. And they looked behind, and the guy was fucking pissing right in his seat, and it was like dripping down all into their seat. It was not good. I'm glad I missed that show.
I learned a lesson early on. I had front row for Ozzy on the Night of Merry Mayhem tour with Rob Zombie and Mudvayne and Soil. There was a guy, he was front row also, and he was to my left, and he was just fucking blitzed, like from the start of the show. I mean, like before Soil even comes out, this guy's just hammered. And he kept grabbing my shirt and shaking me. And he's like, fucking Ozzy, man. We got front row for fucking Ozzy, man. And I swear to God, Ozzy was in song 2. And I looked over, and that cat was passed out dead as fuck in his seat.
Think about how much money he wasted, man.
I don't know that he ever honestly laid eyes on Ozzy the whole night, because I noticed him during song 2. He could have been laying there for 30 fucking minutes like that for all I know. This complete waste. That's brutal, man. That is brutal.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's another reason I like to stay sober for the shows, just because I want to remember them. I don't want to be like so blitzed out of my mind that you wake up the next day and you don't even remember the show. That would definitely bum me out, especially, my favorite bands. Going to see Ozzy, Sabbath. I'm there for the music, man. I mean, I'm there for the crowd, too. It's great. There's nothing like being in a crowd and everybody loving Ozzy, and they chant that, Ozzy, Ozzy. I'm going to get chills. It's a great feeling, but, I'm definitely there for the music.
Oh, wow. I've never heard that at one of the shows I've went to. That's amazing. They do that sometimes?
Get the fuck out of here.
I'm joking. Fuck off. Okay. So anyway, on to today's topic. Ultimate Ozzy Osbourne set list that he could still pull off in 2021. We have separate lists, and we've not seen each other's lists. We're big on lists, if you haven't noticed that on this show by now.
So here's the one thing, though, because we do love lists. I want our listeners to pick what set list they would be more excited to see. They got to jump on our Facebook page, our Twitter page, and let us know, hey, Josh had the better set list. Dan had the better set list. Or let us know what your set list was, right?
Exactly. Let us know your set list. Which songs would you like to hear that you think he could still perform in 2020? That's the key. Ozzy's kept the very basic set list for the last 20, 25 years, but a lot of that is, sadly based on performance and songs he's comfortable doing. And confidence is the key. There's so many that he could be doing that he's not. But we do realize, too, there's over half of his songs that he just simply couldn't do anymore. I mean, most of the songs on Diary of a Madman were tough then. We'll see. We'll see. All right.
But we will call bullshit. And if bullshit is called, we'll have to put another song in the set list.
Okay. Sounds good, man. So if you have one that I think he couldn't pull off today, I can call bullshit, and you will have to replace it with something else. All right. Sounds good. Okay. So even before the show begins, Ozzy's so well known for coming out to O Fortuna by Carl Orff.
Right.
I would nix that. I would go back to Diary of a Madman right there. She would go back to the old Diary of a Madman intro like he used with Randy Rhoads in 82. and used that intro leading in to Paranoid. The first
You're
time I saw
starting with
Ozzy,
Paranoid?
yes, sir. The first time I saw Ozzy live, he opened with Paranoid, and I have forever since believed that's the perfect song for Ozzy Osbourne to open up with live. It has the energy, the crowd knows it. It's almost like you're going to see Leonard Skinner and they're already doing Freebird, right? It gets it out of the way for the fan that's seen it a million times. And it's just got a lot of energy, man, and everyone knows and loves that song. And, you know, when you see it live, and I mentioned this on the trailer, I believe, and he has the kabuki curtain. The kabuki curtain is the big black curtain that covers the stage before a band comes out. And when the band kicks in and the curtain drops, you know, the guitar player comes in with the intro, then the band kicks in and the curtain drops. It's just got a good, powerful stance. It makes a statement instantly. The energy is there instantly. And I just love Paranoid as an opener. So that, for me, is my opener for Ozzy Osbourne's perfect set list in 2021.
So correct, and he did that on the No More Tours tour back in '92, which was fantastic, man. It was really cool because I'd already seen him a bunch of times, and we knew Paranoid was the closer. So it was like mind-boggling when he opened the show with it.
It's a raid!
Right?
Sorry, I heard
So cool.
sirens back there. I apologize.
That's all right. So my opener is, I think, the best concert opener there could be. And I know he loves to open with I Don't Know, but I just don't think he can ever go wrong opening with Bark at the Moon. It is probably the greatest riff maybe in metal history. It's got so much power, energy with the stops and the drum syncopation. I just come out of my chair every time Bark at the Moon starts. I think it's a great opener.
Dan choosing Bark at the Moon to open his Ozzy set list is the least surprising thing to me that I could have heard all day long.
It's a very, very surprising list.
He loves that song, as we all do, but I knew that would be, the irony in what I'm seeing right here, though, is the first time I saw Ozzy was on the Retirement Sucks tour, and he opened with Paranoid on that tour also.
That's right.
The first time you saw Ozzy was on the Ultimate Sin tour, and he opened with Bark at the Moon. So we both picked the songs that we first saw him play live for the first time each. So that could, maybe that connects with us some reason.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
That's a great one. So I think Bark at the Moon's great. I mean, just the energy, the guitar playing, the vocals. It's just a great song. I think it's a high energy song. Yeah. High energy is going to be a theme of my set list.
And again, a song that everyone knows. The energy's there immediately. You can't go wrong with Bark at the Moon. I can totally go with you on that. So after Paranoid, I have in my head, when I look at my set list, it goes into the drum intro, kind of like on Live and Loud. Flying High Again. Again, a classic that everyone knows. I do think he could pull it off. He actually did it a few nights on the No More Tours 2 tour a few years back when that first got kicked off in Florida. So we know he could do it. And just a classic that really I think should always be in the set list. I don't understand why this song fluctuates in and out throughout the years, because I think Flying High Again is as much a classic as Mr. Crowley or Suicide Solution.
Well, you got to remember, too, growing up in the 80s, like I did, Flying High Again was about equal to Crazy Train as Ozzy's most popular song. It was a very popular song. It was a staple in the live show. I have no idea why he ever would take it out, because to me, I agree with everything you're saying. I think it's a great pick. I am sure we're going to see it on my list, and I think it's a great 1-2 punch, Paranoid into Flying High Again.
Let's see, when did that happen? Probably around Ozfest 98 or so that they exited the set list. It was there for the Retirement Sucks tour.
It was.
Then in 98, Ozfest, he started playing Believer. Did Believer replace Flying High Again on that
Yes,
tour?
it did.
That sounds about right, doesn't it?
It does.
And then since then, it's really been very sparse ever since that he's played Flying High Again. He did it in 2000 some nights. Some nights he didn't. I remember he would alternate Flying High Again and Diary of a Madman, actually. Thank God for me, the night I saw him in 2000, he played Diary of a Madman, so that was fucking epic.
Motherfucker.
I think he's played it like 7 or 8 times total.
I don't even know if it's that much, to be honest.
Yeah. It was that whole Ozfest. Each night he would alternate those, and I think there was like 18 dates. So I want to say maybe 9 times, 8 times, something like that.
It's pretty amazing that he pulled that off with Joe Holmes.
Oh, it was awesome. And the stage show was huge, too. A lot of pyrotechnics and fire and so on. So it was great.
So my number second, so we come out of Bark at the Moon, blazing guitar solo, and we go into Mr. Crowley. There's a few songs in Ozzy's career that if I see him live, he has to do. Mr. Crowley is one of them. There's just something about that song that moves me in a live performance. I wish he would cut down on the crowd part right before the song kicks in. He goes a little too long for me on that. But overall, I think the energy of Mr. Crowley, just everybody stops and Ozzy comes in with that, Mr. Crowley. It's just so good live. It gives me chills. Another brilliant guitar song. Probably the 1-2 punch, I'm just realizing this now, what I would consider maybe the 2 greatest guitar songs of all time, Bark at the Moon and Mr. Crowley.
Yeah, Mr. Crowley is as much a staple for me as Crazy Train is or Paranoid. I mean, same. I'll go ahead and tell you, it's on my list also. That's a song that I just couldn't remove if I had to because of
No way.
everything you just said. And, I think Randy Rhoads had made the comment before that maybe it was his favorite song that he had done with Ozzy. That might have been before the Diary of a Madman album was written. I'm not sure the time and place when he said that, but that song just has such a connection to Randy also for the fans, I believe, in a lot of ways. You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
there's just so much about that song that it's a staple. I couldn't take it out of mine either. I don't have it quite that high up on the set list. He does. It was actually number 2 on the No More Tours tour set list, if I recall correctly.
It is. He likes to do that too. He
Yeah.
might have done that too. I hate to say it on the, I'll have to look, but he might have done it too in the Ultimate Sin show.
Well, actually, so right now you're on pace with his current tour because he opened with Bark of the Moon and then did Mr. Crowley.
I'm right there.
You're
I
right
think it's
there
a
with where
great
they're
1-2
at.
punch.
It's
Yeah.
hard to argue. So for 3, I start to get a little more crazy. A song that I think should have been in the set list for the past 25 years that I believe he could sing very easily. And for some reason, after that initial tour promoting that record, it got dropped. I would like to hear him go back into Gets Me Through.
Very nice. I love it.
I think Ozzy wrote the lyrics to that song for the most part. It seems to mean a lot to him. I'm
It
kind of
does.
shocked that song didn't hang around in the live set list. Of course, this was during a time period of a lot of Sabbath reunions and things like that, but really shocked this one got nixed after the first tour because I think it's something he could easily pull off live now at this point.
100% he could still pull off Gets Me Through. What a great bridge too. It's a great heavy headbanger song. I have no idea. To be honest, this is what really started this conversation is songs like Gets Me Through, how he plays it for the tour for the album and then takes it off the list, which drives me crazy. Because that's really how songs become classics, right? You know,
Exactly
you got to
what I
stay
was
in the
about to
set
say.
list.
So, yeah, had he kept this song in the set for the past 25 years, all the fans would know it by heart like we do, Mr. Crowley and these other songs. And it's a song that I think at this point people would look at as a classic, whereas it's probably looked over because it's not been in the set list since 2001, 2002,
Right. And I think he could definitely pull it off. It's a great song. Great choice, Josh.
Thank you.
My number 3 is that drum intro starts right after Mr. Crowley and we go into Flying High again. So we're very close. You have to have Flying High again in the set. You already talked about it. It's got a great energy. I mean, look at this 1, 2, 3 punch, right? Bark at the Moon, Mr. Crowley, Flying High again. It doesn't get any better than that. It's a great, great start to the set. Great guitar playing, great melodies. I think Ozzy can hit all those. His voice is starting to get a little warmed up here. That would be my number 3 song.
Can't go wrong with Flying High again. Definitely one of the classics. I'm going to edit that comment out. It was stupid.
You got to leave it in.
So, my number 4, I'm still sticking to a little bit of the crazy side of this, but I've thought for years he could do this song live. I've never heard him do it. This will be the first song on the set that I've never seen him do live in person. He did perform it on the album tour, but I would like to hear at number 4, Rock and Roll Rebel from the Bark of the Moon album. It's a song that at a glance you would say, well, Bark of the Moon, man, 1983, I don't know if he could do that. He could sing Rock and Roll Rebel. Listen.
Dude, this is the song. And I hate to say this is definitely in my set, but this is the whole song that you and I got to talking about saying, why the fuck is Rock and Roll Rebel not still in Ozzy's set list? He could easily do it, man.
He could easily do it. Like we said on the previous episode, they tune down the guitars. You can go to a lower octave. You can even change the melody a little to suit your voice today. He changed the melody. We've discussed this privately before, where he changed the melody for Sabbath Bloody Sabbath on the reunion tour with Black Sabbath.
Loved
and it's
it.
fucking great. I think it's almost better than the other melody.
He actually did
excellent.
that on the what tour was that? When he pulled out Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. I think it was the Retirement Sucks tour. Yeah.
So yeah, Rock and Roll Rebel for me would be my number 4. I would shit my britches if he broke that out sometime and I was in attendance. It'd be excellent.
Again, to be the old man of the set. Let me tell you, Rock and Roll Rebel was a hit for him. It was on the radio a lot, on hard rock radio out here in Arizona and all over the country. It was great. It went over live beautifully on the Bark at the Moon tour. I have no idea why it got dropped. I have no idea why he did not continue that song on in the Ultimate Sin tour.
Yeah, and it's a song that seems to connect with him on a personal level. I mean,
course.
clearly it's about I'm a rock and roll rebel,
Well, living through that time, people really thought Ozzy was a major devil worshiper. I'm telling you, Josh, I'm sorry to be like old here, but it was so fucking cool when Ozzy came out with that line. They say, I worship the devil. They must be stupid or blind. Because it was like, fuck you guys. It's just a goddamn show. And that line really meant something to me. It's a great fucking song.
It's a great song.
All right, here's my first swerve of the set. And I'm going to put this as a caveat. All right. The chorus is going to have to be sung a little bit by the crowd. Okay. You know how he likes to do that?
Okay.
So my number 4 is Perry Mason.
Okay, I'm going to give you the chance to explain this, but I'm ready to click my bullshit button on this one. So you explain.
All right, listen to the verses, right? On his way to dinner. It's all, it's that raspy Ozzy voice. It's not a very hard line to sing for him. The only part of the song that's hard is he could sing the Who Can We Get on the Case, calling Perry Mason. That's the only part of the song that he really would struggle with. And he could easily do the microphone out into the crowd like he's done many, many times in his career when he can't hit a note, just like he does on Crazy Train. Perry Mason is no higher than Shot in the Dark. It is no higher than Miracle Man. It is no higher than Flying High Again.
He can't do Miracle Man right now either, but I will let it pass. I will give you a pass on this one for the caveat that you threw on there, that the crowd sings the high point of the chorus, because that is always where he struggled with it on the Retirement Sucks tour. There's always a little bit of squeal right there on the chorus on that section. So, and that, I will say, that would be fun to have the crowd sing that with him.
Of course, and I think that's kind of a legendary Ozzy song.
I think so. Okay, so number 5 for me is Mr. Crowley. Like we discussed earlier, it's a song that has to be there for all the reasons we discussed when you mentioned it for number 2 on your set list. It's just got everything I want from an Ozzy song, from an Ozzy live show. He still nails it live. It's got the epic vocal moment of the Mr. Crowley intro when he sings that everyone loves. So for all the reasons we discussed earlier, Mr. Crowley stays in my set list at number 5.
Nice. It has to be in an Ozzy set list. I couldn't agree more, man. My number 5, I'm telling you, dude, we have our same brain sometimes. We're like one song off, is Rock and Roll Rebel. Again, I'm going to keep reiterating how high energy this set is. Bark at the Moon, Mr. Crowley, Flying High Again, Perry Mason, Rock and Roll Rebel. I think it would be an amazing start to the show.
Well, you're 5 songs in and have 2 songs from the Bark at the Moon album. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Does that surprise you?
No, it doesn't. If I had the caveat that you had for Perry Mason, it probably would be on my list. As I said earlier, I started to call bullshit on you.
Right.
But with that caveat, I'm going to go ahead and leave it off my list. But with that, I would find room for Perry Mason somewhere else, because it definitely holds a special place for me. I did see him perform it once. I would definitely like to see it on a set list today. That would be absolutely epic.
It would be epic. I mean, it's such a great riff, and it's so heavy. It's amazing. We went in detail about it on the Osmosis podcast.
So number 6 in my set list of the Ultimate Ozzy Osbourne Set List 2021 is where I throw a complete curveball. This song has never been performed live.
Oh boy, I got my bullshit button ready to go.
But I firmly believe he could do it so easily. A matter of fact, it could be done so easily, I'm just shocked that it was never done live in the first place, especially on the album tour. Blows my mind. It's not my favorite Ozzy song, but the reason I would like to see it is because he's never done it live before, and that's Crazy Babies.
Wow. Holy cow, that's a curveball, dude.
That's a curveball, and I'm aware of that. But Crazy Babies...
God, that's pretty high, dude.
Crazy Babies is still a song that you hear on the radio. A matter of fact, I got my first lap dance to Crazy Baby.
Nice. You can't beat that.
Yeah.
Now I know why it's in the set list.
Mm-hmm. I had special sweet memories for that one. But
if you guys hear tinking going on, it's just, Josh's microphone.
But, it's a song that I think, obviously, it wouldn't be in the same key. I realized, they'd tune it down just like they do everything else in the set list. But I think he could do it. I just don't think it would be a song that would be very hard for him to pull off. I mean, and then the chorus, walk that walk, talk that. I mean, he could fucking do that. Are you kidding?
Oh,
it'd be
that
easy.
Verse. Sing the verse, though.
I can't sing. I can't sing shit. You don't want me to sing. We want people to listen to this show, not turn it off.
I know. I love
it. But he could always do it in the lower octave, Crazy babies never... He could do it.
All right. I'll put the bullshit button
If you
away.
want to call bullshit, call it, but I think he could do it.
I think he could do it. Please, I have another song on from that album, so
awesome.
That helps my argument for that song. All right, my number 6 is Believer.
Nice.
I just think it's a great live song. Again, it's kind of similar to Mr. Crowley's. Randy's solos, I don't want to say are similar, but I always looked at Believer as kind of like Mr. Crowley Part 2 is the best way to say it. But Rock and Roll Rebel ends, that dun and then boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. It's just a great live song. Ozzy can still do it. He's done it on a lot of recent tours. He did it on the Scream tour for sure. I just think it's a great song, great melody, gets the crowd headbanging. I think the crowd would lose their shit. already 2 songs now off Diary.
Yeah, Believer didn't make my list, but man, it was, if there's one song that I just stared at and was like, oh, I gotta find a play, it was probably Believer, because like you, I think he could still do it. Like, as a matter of fact, he has done it recently. It's a crowd favorite. It's a deep cut, but it's not so deep that no one, you know what I'm saying? And he needs more songs from Diary of a Madman in his set list. He just does. I know it's a hard album to sing some of those songs, but at the same time, many people view it as his best record. I mean, the ultimate debate, which we'll obviously do on this podcast down the road, is Blizzard versus Diary. He does like 5 and 6 songs from Blizzard tour to tour, but Diary of a Madman usually has 0.
Or 1, if we're lucky.
If you're lucky, you get Flying High Again or Believer, and that's it. And it was even that way with Randy Rhoads in this, originally, and they were doing Believer, they were doing
Over the Mountain a little bit. Just at the first part of the tour, they eventually dropped it.
Well, what I was trying to say is they were doing Believer and Flying High Again. That was it. That's it. And then when they went out on the Diary tour, they added Over the Mountain, and that was it.
Yeah, that's it.
And, it's kind of...
Randy was not happy about that.
That's what I was about to say. It was kind of well known that Randy was a little displeased with that. He knew that Diary was as good a record or better, and he didn't understand why for the Diary of a Madman tour, they didn't play a few more of those songs, and I agree. They should have broke a few more of those out, but it goes back to the confidence level, like we talked about earlier.
And again, not to harp on this, but Blizzard of Oz is tuned to 440, and Diary of a Madman is tuned to E flat, except for SATO, which is in 440. So Ozzy was able to write a little bit more ambitious melodies on Diary because of the lower tuning.
Definitely. So yeah, Believer, absolutely epic. It's not on my list. I could throw it in there over anything. I mean, I love that song. So number 7, I go back to a more traditional Ozzy Osbourne set list staple, and I'm going with Suicide Solution / guitar solo. When I hear Ozzy live and it's guitar solo time, I immediately go to Suicide Solution for the guitar solo. I don't know if it's because Tribute's my favorite record ever recorded, and I just always relate it with that. But I just think Suicide Solution's a fun song. It's one that fans always look forward to, and the guitar solo just always for me is attached to Suicide Solution. So for that reason, I put it right there at the 7th slot.
I mean, it's a staple. I'm not one of these huge Suicide Solution fans. I know it's a great song, of course. It's Ozzy, but definitely not one of my favorites from the Randy era. I think it's a little boring. I do understand why you put it in the set list because it is such a staple, and it is always married to the guitar solo. My number 7 is a staple, and we're going to go I Don't Know.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I contemplated opening the set list with it because I would imagine most of the time I've seen Ozzy live, I Don't Know has started the show. It's a great opening song for sure, but I think it works very well in the middle of the set too. It's got high energy. Again, Ozzy nails it live. He can absolutely sing in that range for the song. Wonderful bridge, another great guitar solo. As you can see, I'm pretty Randy and Jake heavy.
I mean, I think we all are. I totally get it. There's something about the magic of the early 80s era that those songs have stood the test of time. I mean, we're sitting here 40 plus years out now on some of these songs, and they're still as heavily played on the radio. Like you mentioned, Rock and Roll Rebel. I still hear that song on the radio sometimes.
Right.
And that's totally one of those also. So my number 8 is a song that has not been played live. I'll tell you the truth. I was looking over my entire set list. I'll go ahead and say this. I think the Ozzy Osbourne set list changed after the Bark of the Moon tour. I think up through the Bark of the Moon tour, he had this certain set of songs that he used tour to tour, then added the new songs from the new album or whatever. When he toured for The Ultimate Sin, he played a lot of songs off that record, 5 or 6 songs. I think that at that point, things changed to where his tours became more about, well, I have these set of staples that I'm going to sing, and then I'll do a few new ones from the new record, and that's it.
Well, that was Jake putting his foot down because Jake wanted to play more Jake. If you look at the set list, like even look at the Ultimate Ozzy, there's actually more Jake songs than Randy songs, I believe. That is very rare.
Yeah, I can certainly believe that because he played so many from that album.
Or it's 50-50.
And it's an album that he doesn't look back at very fondly. So for him to have promoted that so hard at that time is a little bit shocking. But it's also a time period when rock and roll was at its peak, and maybe they were just trying to jump on that as much as they could at the time. But I've noticed that my set list, a lot of it stopped after the Bark of the Moon tour. Like that was the one where after that tour, it changed a lot. So my number 8, that said, I believe the Bark of the Moon tour was the last time it was played live, is Steal Away the Night with the drum solo. Revelation
and Steal Away the Night, I looked hard at. I mean, that's the songs I really stared at for a long time. I just can't see Steal Away the Night without Revelation before it, man. It does not work for me.
I understand that. I do. I understand that totally because they kind of go hand in hand. But at the same time, you would lose your shit if you were at an Ozzy concert in 2021 and he played "Steal Away the Night."
Agreed. Matter of fact, I was going to put Revelation in my set list, and I have another song that I chose instead, strictly because I did not have room to add Steal Away the Night. I feel like they're a 1-2 package.
They are, but we'll see.
All right. I think it's a great choice. Listen, Steal Away the Night, brilliant. I would literally shit my pants if he played that live. I'm not going to lie. I would much rather see Steal Away the Night than Suicide Solution.
100%.
My number 8. All right, here we go. Now just bear with me again. I believe he comes out with Miracle Man.
Bullshit button. My hand is on the bullshit button. We'll see. I just don't know.
Well, all right. I should have researched this. When is the last time he played Miracle Man live?
No More Tours tour.
No, he's had to have played that. Did he not play that on the Scream tour?
No.
Interesting.
If he's played that since then, I've never seen him play it live. If he's played that since then, it would have been on those 3-hour long shows up in Canada on the SARS tour or whatever, the Fuck SARS or whatever that was called. That would have been when it would have happened, but I don't recall that he's played Miracle Man since No More Tours tour. 91, 92.
All right. So I didn't realize it's been that long. I thought he had pulled it out again in 2011, 2010, somewhere around there. But I am wrong. So bullshit me.
Bullshit. Couldn't do it.
Okay. So I'm going to go with, fuck it. This is the number one alternate I have. And I think it would be amazing. It's going to fuck me, though, because Miracle Man was going to be my guitar solo, and this song wouldn't be my guitar solo. So I'm going to go Scary Little Green Men.
Whoa, nice.
I think it would be a great live song. Again, high energy. Once you get past that intro, we're coming off of a backing of Crowley, High Again, Perry Mason, Rock and Roll Rebel, Believer, I Don't Know. Boom, you do that intro, Scary Little Green Men. And once that chorus drops, people are going to sing along, lose their mind. It would be a fucking great live song.
It would be a great live song. I think there's a few songs on his latest album, Ordinary Man, that he could probably pull off. We'll save any for surprises for later on, possibly on my set list or yours. But I do think Scary Little Green Man is one that he probably could pull off live. It's not on my list, but I would fucking lose my mind for that one. There's no doubt. Yeah, I remember the first time I heard it, and I just started pumping my fist to that rhythm of that chorus. It was just fucking ripping, and I was like, man, this is what I want from an Ozzy album. And it's so funny because when I saw the song titles from that record, before they released the album, and I saw the song Scary Little Green Men, and my first thought was, well, that sounds dumb. But then my second thought was that's perfect for Ozzy with Bark at the Moon and all these other titles like that. Like that's perfect.
Exactly right.
It ended up being the quintessential Ozzy sounding song on that album, I thought. The old school, Bark at the Moon sounding Ozzy track. So I would love that.
Yeah, and I think, listen, would I love him to do Under the Graveyard? I don't know. I don't think he could sing that one live. But I love him to do Holy for Tonight. Yes, but I think Holy for Tonight's maybe a little too mellow. I just think Scary Little Green Men is a great live song. And I think it could have been a staple of his if he was younger and he released that song when he was younger, where I think that would have been a staple in the live setting.
Yeah.
It's just got such an infectious chorus.
Yeah, I agree. Under the Graveyard is, obviously was the lead single off the last album. So you want to hear that, you typically want to hear that new single. I agree. That's one I thought about. I was like, I just don't think he can really pull that one off today. I hate to say that. It would not be very pleasing to the ear, I don't believe. So we'll pass on it this time. You probably do. You know me pretty well.
Yeah.
I've probably told you before that I think which one off that album I think would be the best live song. I'm sorry.
Yep, and I would say that would have been my choice too.
Yeah. Excellent lead in. My track number 9, Straight to Hell off of Ordinary Man. So that was perfect timing. I think this song could totally be pulled off live from Ozzy. And when he said in an interview, I will absolutely be doing some of these songs live when I go back on tour, this was the first song I thought of. I was like, this sounds like an Ozzy live album song. And there's even parts of that song where it's like, dun, 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 dun. If you know his mannerisms as well as most of you probably do that are listening to this show, you already know that when it does that, dun, 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 he's swinging his arms out. Almost like he does on Fairies Wear Boots. Like you almost can see his mannerisms to this song. It would be absolutely perfect in a live set right now, and I just think it's got a good high energy to it. It was a single for the record. I think that would be the song off of Ordinary Man that he would play.
I probably would agree that would be the most logical one. I do think Scary Little Green Man is the better live song, but Straight to Hell would be fucking fantastic live. So number 9 for me is going to be No More Tears.
Nice.
It is probably top 3 best epic songs in his whole career. I could not imagine going to see an Ozzy concert without No More Tears in the show. You know, it has to be there. That would also now is going to have to be my guitar solo. It is Zach's best guitar solo, so it kind of would be cool to have the guitar solo on there. But No More Tears, heavy, groovy. I think it's maybe his heaviest solo song, and I just think it has to be in the set. It's great sing along for the crowd. People just lose their shit with No More Tears live.
It's No More Tears. I mean, what's to say? It's No More Tears. I'll go ahead and tell you, it's number 10 for me. So
we are so close. It's funny.
We are again on a similar page. Number 10 for me is No More Tears. Sadly, it's not a staple. There's been many tours that he did not play No More Tears. It's in and out, usually every other tour or so. He still pulls it off pretty well live. I have seen bad experiences with it on YouTube and stuff like that at certain nights, certain shows, but for the most part, he pulls it off pretty well. You know, when you think Ozzy Osbourne, you know, Crazy Train comes to mind, Paranoid for Sabbath comes to mind, Bark of the Moon. No More Tears is right there. It's fucking huge. It's No More Tears. It's got to be there, in my opinion.
I couldn't agree more. It has to be in the set list for sure. So my number 10, I believe the last time he did it, gosh, I want to say, I thought he did it on the Scream tour, but I could be mistaken. I know he hadn't played it a long time before that.
Can I guess? Can I take a guess?
Hit me.
The Ultimate Sin.
That's it. God damn it. That's it.
He did play that on the Scream tour. That's what gave it away.
Ultimate Sin, again, another classic Jake song. Of course, No More Tears, The Ultimate Sin are both drop D, I think both to C sharp. So same tuning. You know, I'm thinking a little outside the box here. It would be a great 1-2 punch back to back, heavy, just a great live song. And of course, this is where my drum solo would be as well.
It's just outside my list. I've never seen him do it. I would completely lose my shit if he did do it. He did do it on the Scream tour. I saw that tour a few times, but he never did it in any of the locations I was at. He did it more over in like Argentina or South America, some of those shows. He also did Killer of Giants over there.
Killer of Giants.
Yeah, and he didn't do that at the shows I was at either. So I was definitely
He did
a little
that
bit
one when I
disappointed.
saw him.
Oh, you lucky. Well, you saw him do those songs with Jakey Lee, right?
He did not do the Ultimate Sin on the Ultimate Sin tour. That is a fallacy.
Yeah.
He did very, very little Ultimate Sin. The songs he played off that album were Secret Loser, Never Know Why.
Thank God for the Bomb.
Thank God for the Bomb.
Shot in the Dark.
Shot in the Dark and Killer Giants. Yeah, he played those 5. But the Ultimate Sin, people think he played it live because of the Ultimate Ozzy, and he might have done it in Kansas City, but it was not really a staple on the live show.
Yeah, he did it a few shows, but it wasn't a staple night in and night out. Yeah. So your number 10 is The Ultimate Sin. We continue to lead each other into our next song choice a little bit. My number 11 is Shot in the Dark. At this point in the actual Ozzy set list that he did for the No More Tours Tour 2 and some of the tours before that, since he's brought Shot in the Dark back, really he brought it back during the Scream tour. And since then, in 2010, he's kind of kept Shot in the Dark on the set list ever since. And I gotta say, it's always a highlight for me. I don't know why. I think he still does it really fucking good. Still see it as a bit of a dark horse. I see it as a little bit of a deep cut, even though it's like his biggest charting hit over all these songs. I still see Shot in the Dark as a little bit more of a deep cut. I love hearing him do it. I just really enjoy that song live. And when I see his set list today, I've seen Ozzy a lot of times. So the set list, I don't want to say it's boring, but it's a lot of the same old songs tour in and tour out. So I always view Shot in the Dark as one that's a little bit different and one that I'm definitely excited to hear. So that's my number 11, Shot in the Dark.
Love it. Love it. It is a staple for me as well, kind of like Flying High Again. So spoiler alert, it will be in my set, but Shot in the Dark and Flying High Again should be in every Ozzy set list.
Absolutely.
All right, so now my number 11, this is the outside of the box one that I know he can pull off 100%. I have berated the listener with fast song, high tempo, fast song, high tempo. You know, we're doing I Don't Know, Scary Little Green Men, No More Tears, The Ultimate Sin. It's just been one heavy song after another, and then the lights go down, and You Can't Kill Rock and Roll starts. And he's never done it live, and I think the place would go fucking nuts.
At least the older section of the place would go fucking nuts.
Listen, who do you think is seeing Ozzy? They're going to know that song.
That is true. And I'm definitely in that older section. I would lose my mind. As a matter of fact, You Can't Kill Rock and Roll is the song specifically that Randy Rhoads was disappointed wasn't in the set list when they did the Diary of a Madman tour.
Exactly. So it has to, and Ozzy can do it. I mean, matter of fact, he sings the low octave on the record. So we already know he could sing that.
Yeah.
So the only thing he can't sing is the word stay, right? Because he hits those big notes on the word stay. He could easily cut those short, like he's done many, many times on different songs. Absolutely can do You Can't Kill Rock and Roll. And I am blown away when I was listening to different radio shows talking about Ozzy and people calling their favorite song. I'm telling you, man, You Can't Kill Rock and Roll was very high on everybody's list on a top 5 Ozzy song.
Yeah, that leads in again for me. So my number 12 song on my Ozzy set list, I have 2 songs written down. I'm not trying to cheat, okay? My number 12 is Revelation Mother Earth. But beside that, I did put Or You Can't Kill Rock and Roll.
No way.
Yeah.
Awesome. Because you never said the bullshit button was coming. So I know you know he can sing it.
I think he could do it. I think he could do either one of those. I think Revelation Mother Earth could be done also.
Dude, I love Revelation Mother Earth, and he could do it too, but it's got to be before Steal Away the Night. It's not realistic.
When you said that, I kind of looked at my set list, but I liked it down there in that lower end of the set to where you're kind of like, the set's about to wrap up, but all of a sudden you're throwing this awesome deep cut curveball that you just never dreamed he was going to play,
Dude, we were on the exact same page. I just chose You Can't Kill Rock and Roll, but it was that exact reasoning, right?
Cool.
It's so fucking cool.
Yeah, that's exactly was my mindset. And like I said, I had Or You Can't Kill Rock and Roll. I had reached out to you earlier today before recording with the idea that you could have 2 songs that he could alternate, play one night, one the next, and you thought it would be a little bit confusing to the listener, but that was my plan. Was one night he would do Revelation Mother Earth, then the next night he would do You Can't Kill Rock and Roll, then the next night back to Revelation Mother Earth, the next night You Can't Kill Rock and Roll.
But we're voting against each other, so you got to pick one.
Yeah, but so for my sake, on my list, the one I had at number 1 was Revelation Mother Earth.
It's great. I fucking love it. Revelation and Steal Away were very close to entering my set list.
Well, again, Revelation Mother Earth, I believe, left the set list after the Bark of the Moon tour.
It did.
There's so many songs that left after that tour that it's, so many that fans now would love to hear. They used to be staples. I mean, try to find an Ozzy live recording, bootleg or whatever, Bark of the Moon tour back, you will hear, guaranteed, you will hear Revelation Mother Earth, you will hear Still Above the Night, you will
every
hear
show.
Every night, but after that tour, it changed and those songs were never brought back.
Ever. I agree. And listen, I think that's a great selection. I personally would love him to bring those 2 songs back.
Okay, so number 12 for you.
My number 12 is Shot in the Dark. I think now we bring the energy back up. Another great high energy song. Another classic Jake song. Again, a lot of Randy Jake on mine. No surprise. I definitely think Shot in the Dark has to be in a set list. I kind of already talked about it when you picked it. Shot in the Dark always should be in an Ozzy set list. It's one of his biggest singles. The Ultimate Sin was a huge album for him. It's, again, very loved by the older fans. It reached number 6 on the Billboard charts. It is double platinum. I cannot understand why he would ever take Shot in the Dark out of the set list.
Yeah, well, and at the time, Shot in the Dark was easily his highest charting. People confuse sometimes charting versus long-term success. They're 2 totally different things. But at the time, Shot in the Dark was easily his highest charting single, and a lot of that had to do with the time and place and era. It was the mid 80s, and rock music was the rage, and that certainly played into it. But Shot in the Dark is a song that shouldn't leave the set list at this point.
We should do an episode about Ozzy's RIAA standing and his chart success as a solo career.
That'd be interesting. Yeah. It would be informative,
It would be for sure. I love that sort of shit.
So, number 13 for me, this would be the set closer before Encore. And this is the part where I go for Bark of the Moon. For all the reasons we said earlier, it's one of the Ozzy, iconic songs of Ozzy's career. I mean, Bark of the Moon is the quintessential Ozzy Osbourne track in my eyes. It's everything I want from an Ozzy song. It's got all the energy, all the guitar solos, like you said. It's smoking hot. I think Bark of the Moon will be a great show closer before Encore.
Moving the song you're going to move to your closer, there is no other choice here but Bark at the Moon. I love it. So my set closer before the Encore is Crazy Train. We're going straight up real life Ozzy here. I think it's the great song to end the set with before we come back for the Encore. It's his most popular song. It's got to be in the set list, even though I've heard it a million times. But live, it's different. Live, it's great to hear Crazy Train live. But that would be my set closer before the Encore.
Totally. So for my Encore, let's go ahead and do our Encores together. Like we'll do 14 and 15, then you do yours, okay?
Love it.
My Encore is actually, I think he kind of gets it right these days. Of course, we've already done Paranoid. I opened with Paranoid in my set. So my Encore is Mom, I'm Coming Home and Crazy Train. I do think when you say Ozzy Osbourne to the general person, Joe Public, I think Crazy Train and Mama I'm Coming Home are probably the first two songs they think of. And, you know, Mama I'm Coming Home is a song that we can't deny that how big that song is. I mean, it really is everything Ozzy wants out of a ballad. He would probably tell you it's his favorite ballad he's ever written or had a part in writing. And I love it on that 14 slot coming out of the Encore, you know, coming in with Mama I'm Coming Home and then leading into the energy of Crazy Train to close the set.
Yeah, I love it. It's a great 1-2 punch. Mine is very similar. So my last three songs are what I would see at a real Ozzy concert. So we're going to go coming out of the Encore, Mama I'm Coming Home, into Paranoid.
That's what I expected.
Yeah, and to me, that's how it should be. I get choked up every time I see Mama I'm Coming Home live. Literally, there's just something about that song live that moves me emotionally. And I get teary-eyed and I get choked up. And it's just, especially when he started getting older, because I know every time I see him, it really started, I'd say, in the No More Tours tour. I really thought it was my last time seeing Ozzy. So I got a little choked up during the Mama I'm Coming Home section of the song. And it's kind of stayed that way for the rest of his career. And I just think it's a staple live. He can sing it just fine. Again, he has the crowd help him with the home line, like we're going to do with Perry Mason. I think it's a great ending to a set. And I had to end with Paranoid. And I love your starting with Paranoid. I think it's great. It's different. But to me, Ozzy ends his show with Paranoid. You know, all the way back from the Sabbath days. What do you want to hear? What do you want to hear? Right? It's Paranoid, Paranoid, Paranoid. You have to end the set with Paranoid. It's when you know the night is over.
I get it. You know, Mama I'm Coming Home is a song that moves Ozzy also. I'm not sure if you saw this. A lot of fans may not have seen it. You probably did. There was a night about 2 years ago or 3 on the No More Tours 2 tour where Ozzy performed Mama I'm Coming Home. And when he finished, he literally apologized to the crowd and said that wasn't up to par. I apologize. Let me try that again. And he sang the fucking song again that night. He done it twice, back to back.
That's awesome.
Because he knew the first time, he just knew the first time that it wasn't as good as it could have been. And that song means so much to him. He wasn't letting that subpar performance be people's memory of that song, hearing that song live for the final time. And he performed it again. And I thought that was fucking awesome to step back and physically just say, hey, that wasn't good enough. I apologize, guys. Let's try that one more time. And literally play it a second time. I think that's fucking great. And little moments like that at concerts are memorable. And that's the things people tell their friends the next day. It's like, man, Ozzy fucking played Mama Coming Home twice. Because the first time he just didn't think he'd done it good enough. And he wanted to do it again. And I think things like that are fucking great. So yeah, it definitely is a song that needs to be in the set, near the Encore or at the Encore, because it means so much to him. And of course, Paranoid's Paranoid. I mean, you can't ever argue with Paranoid. So one thing I find interesting, we both only had one Black Sabbath song in our Ozzy Osbourne Ultimate Set List.
Yeah, I was just going to go there. I mean, we've talked about this before. I would be even okay if he cut Paranoid out of the set list. And I know I just said Paranoid ends with Ozzy, but I was trying to be as true as possible. You know, he just spent the last 20 years touring as Black Sabbath. We've seen a lot of Black Sabbath. I would rather see an all Ozzy set list. And if we did an all Ozzy set list, I would have closed with Crazy Train.
Well, it's this simple. He has enough material to do an all Ozzy set list.
He's got more Ozzy solo records than he does Sabbath records.
Absolutely. And the Sabbath songs, like you said a minute ago, if Black Sabbath hadn't been touring, it would be different. But we've heard all those songs. You know, we've heard those songs on tour for the past 20 years as much as we have his solo songs. So really, the point, you know, he still nails War Pigs. I get it. And if I'm a person who's never seen Ozzy live or Sabbath, I would love it if he did War Pigs. Like, that would be fucking epic.
And he's going to do it.
Yeah, and he's going to do it in real life. He's going to do it. But for my set, if I was going and making the set list, I just would pass on that because I've heard him do it with Black Sabbath so much. So that's why I would skip on it. But it's not that we don't love those songs just as much. It's just that if I'm going to pay money for an Ozzy solo tour, I want to see Ozzy solo songs personally. Because like you said, we've seen him do it. And no one can do them the way Sabbath does them. Zach's great. Everyone's great.
He says that.
Those songs are just absolutely different with Black Sabbath. So did you take the time to think about exiting music?
Yeah, I would pick. I'm going back to the old days, baby. I would pick So Tired while he was walking out.
Nice. I picked the one that I think if he does tour again, that he will exit with is Ordinary Man.
Yeah, it's a great one, too.
Yeah, I think Ordinary Man would be the one that would close it as far as exiting music for the crowd. He always tends to do his latest ballad in that spot anyways. Over the years, it's been Dreamer and Here for, whatever. So right. I think Ordinary Man would be the pick for that. So awesome.
Truthfully, I almost cut Mama I'm Coming Home and added Ordinary Man in that spot. Well, it was this close. I almost pulled it.
I debated if how well he could really do it. I think he could do it.
He does the ballads better live sometimes than the rockers, man.
He really does. He always nailed Here For You. I mean, but then there's songs like Dreamer that he never even tried. Yeah, I would love to hear a live version of Dreamer, but
Me too. Dude, there's so many fucking songs we could have added to the list. I mean, I could have made this a 30-song set list.
oh, easy.
Like,
Do you want to throw a few at me real quick, and I'll throw a few at you before we close up? That songs that could have made the set list that we think he could still do today in 2021.
Absolutely. So I got 3 right out of the gate, and again, it's going to go back to keeping these songs in the set list because it would have become more classics. You ready? Gets Me Through. Gets Me Through was right on my list, man. It ended. It was like the last minute scratch. I loved that pick of yours. It was right there, but at the end of the day, I wanted to go early Ozzy a little bit more. The other 2 are going to surprise you, but they were late cuts for me. That's I Don't Want to Stop and Let Me Hear You Scream. I think they are radio staples. Younger Ozzy fans know them. All Ozzy fans know them. They were very popular. They're great live songs. They got great energy. He could easily sing them. I would love to see those songs come back to the set list.
Yeah, I have them on my list also of songs that could have been, because initially I would guess we both did this the same. I wrote down songs I think he could still do, and then from that chose the set list. They're on my list also. Again, they're lead singles from those albums, so they got a lot of radio play. The fans definitely know those songs, and like you said, if they stay in the set list, they become classics. That's just how it happens. So they're on my list also. I'll throw a few at you real quick. Missing from my set list is I Don't Know.
Mine is Suicide Solution.
Yeah, so we both went with one Blizzard track that is definite staples that will always be there. That we chose not to put in our set list, but a few that I had that neither one of us mentioned is one song he never played live. I'm curious if he could pull off Breaking All the Rules.
No way.
You don't think
I would
so?
have no way. Like I wanted to add Waiting for Darkness. He can't pull it off.
Yeah, it'd be tough.
Yeah. But Breaking All the Rules is pretty high. Again, that's also drop D. His melody's pretty high. It's awesome.
But a few more on my set list here was one is Desire. He actually did that.
He could do that for sure.
He's done that one recently.
But that to me, that's kind of a staple. I don't know. No. I get a little bored with Desire.
No, I mean he did that on the No More Tours tour, and he did it on Retirement Sucks. Then it left the set list for a long, long time after that. And then he did it a few shows where he did before the No More Tours 2 tour, he did a few spot shows for festivals like Download Festival or that Open Air Chicago Festival, whatever one it was. And he did Desire there a few nights. But other than that, he hasn't really played that much in the past 15 or 20 years, believe it or not. It's if you would look back at it, it's been played a lot less than your memory probably tells you it has.
I'm sure.
I think I've only heard him do it live one time.
He did on the No More Tours tour, for sure. And I believe he did it on the first half of the Retirement Sucks tour.
Exactly. And then it's been gone since then pretty much, except for a show here or there he's brought it, So that's why I had that one. Another one that he does live quite often overseas, but he's never done it at a show I've been at, and it bothers me because I would just lose my shit to hear him do it, is Fire in the Sky.
Yep, I've seen him do it a few times.
Yeah, I've never seen that one, and I definitely would...
he could do that for sure. He did that on the Scream 4.
Another song that we cut, you and I both, I noticed, is I Don't Want to Change the World.
I was just going to mention that.
Yeah, a definite staple. I love it, but I could easily cut that one to make room for one of these other songs all day long.
Easily.
Yeah.
Agreed. I kind of feel the same way about Desire as I Don't Want to Change the World.
Yeah.
Very similar songs.
They're similar. And 2 more that I had on my list that I think he could still do, and he did do them on that tour, is Junkie and That I Never Had. I think he could still do those ones also if he wanted to really do something off the wall, but those aren't really the classic Ozzy songs that you would want to hear. Like Agreed. Rock and Roll Rebel, classic, radio staple type songs.
Ultimate Sin. Yeah, I agree.
So
yeah, I would personally, I would love Junkie. I think Junkie's a great song. It's kind of why I didn't pick anything else off of the later records. I think it's only really I Don't Want to Stop and Let Me Hear You Scream.
Yeah, there's only so much room. He's had so many staples. I mean, when you look at Paranoid, Mr. Crowley, Crazy Train, Mom, I'm Coming Home, Bark with the Moon, there's so many that have to be there. There's only really a few spots to slide in. And he's got so many songs that he could do. And there's more than this that he could do that we're not even mentioning, I'm sure. But those, like you said, you kind of, for the later ones, you want those lead singles that people at least know what they are. The classic albums, people know all those songs for the most part.
And that's why I know for sure Suicide Solution and I Don't Know would clearly be in the set. But for my set, I picked 3 from Blizzard, which would be very low. And I picked 3 from Diary. So I still got my 6 Randy songs in, but I wanted to focus a little bit more on Diary. I think it would be great having Believer, Flying High Again, and You Can't Kill Rock and Roll on the set.
Oh, yeah. Everyone would go home happy. So, real quick before we close up, I'm throwing this at you real quick. If you could choose one song, it doesn't matter if he could perform it today or not. If there's one song you've never heard live that you would like to hear, what would it be?
Waiting for Darkness. I already said it.
Even,
I would shit.
Even more so than Diary of a Madman?
Yeah, I mean, he's already done Diary, right? Even though I didn't get to see him, there's something about the fact that he's never played Waiting for Darkness live. But of course, Diary would be the obvious answer. I was trying to be a little bit more mystifying. Waiting for Darkness would be great. I know he played and they talked that he was going to add it to the set list, and you and I got super excited, and it never came to fruition. Can you just imagine Waiting for Darkness being played?
It was the No More Tours tour set list that he was on before he fell, and they had mentioned any deep cuts, and he physically said, yeah, we've been working on Waiting for Darkness and it sounds fucking excellent. And we were like all pumped about that. Right. And I was at opening night in Jacksonville, Florida, and he didn't play it, and I was so disappointed by that because he made that comment.
I was texting you. Did he play Waiting for Darkness?
Yeah, I was waiting for it all night, and I was waiting for fucking Darkness to hear that song, and he never played it.
So that's probably why it's my answer too, because he did just say it. It's just in the back of my mind, man. And it's always been one of my favorite Ozzy songs. Of course, Diary of a Madman would be the top of the list. It would be amazing. But Waiting for Darkness would be for me.
Diary of a Madman would be my choice, except for that I've seen him do it.
Yeah.
So therefore, mine would probably be Revelation Mother Earth, because I've never heard him do that song live, and I just I fucking love that song, and I think that would be one for me that would totally just move me to hear that one. And it's such a long, epic song that you have time to really soak it up and really enjoy that. One thing I wanted to address real quick before we close this, I interviewed Gus G one time. It was promoting one of his albums, the solo albums, but we discussed his time with Ozzy a little bit, and this is available on YouTube if you want to check it out. The website was called Metal Nexus. My nickname on there, we'd use pen names. It was Axe. And it says Axe interviews Gus G. And I talked to Gus about his time with Ozzy. And he told me that when they released the 30th anniversary box set, that Ozzy told the band to learn Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman in their entireties. And that they were going to go out and tour promoting that box set and play both of those albums in their entirety.
It would have been huge.
To be honest, that's both of our dream sets right there.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, no
that
question.
Would be it.
To hear Ozzy play SATO live or You Can't Kill Rock and Roll, fucking forget it, man. Absolutely forget it. Tonight live. Oh
my God.
You know what? Tonight could be my pick over Revelation Mother Earth. Actually, I'm gonna change that.
I don't think he could sing tonight.
No, there's no way. And the thing was, Gus said they practiced it for 2 weeks. The odd thing was there was less than a few weeks left in the tour. He said they had rehearsed it and they had like one short leg of the tour left, and that was it. And that Ozzy come in and the band had learned those songs, and he just kind of said, scrap that, we're not doing that. And that was the end of it. Like it never happened, obviously.
I don't understand it, because that would have sold tickets.
Oh,
it would have been his biggest tour in years.
I think it goes back to your comment at the start of the show of confidence. I think that is ultimately what it comes down to. I would fly somewhere to see that, no questions asked. I mean, we'd be there in a heartbeat, and anywhere. I think it would have been huge. And, Gus, he did comment to me how much work the band put into learning those songs. It just got scrapped. The entire interview I did with him, that was definitely my takeaway moment of how awesome that could have been. And, that would have been at the end of the Scream tour. So that would have been right at the tail end of the Scream tour. If you look back, Ozzy was fucking on fire on that tour. He was
excellent. Amazing.
A matter of fact, I think that's the best he had sounded since No More Tours tour in 91, 92. I think that was his best sounding tour since then. If ever there was a time to do it, that probably would have been it. Unfortunately, it didn't happen.
Yeah, that would have been fantastic. I think it would have been wildly successful, man.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to give a huge shout out to Ryan for doing the graphic art for our amazing poster for our Ultimate podcast. We want to give a huge shout out to Ryan. Ryan's going to be joining us on a couple of future podcasts, especially when we start doing battles. And I'm hoping that's for our next episode. Ryan is definitely a huge Ozzy fan, just like us. He's definitely one of the crew. So shout out to Ryan for really coming through and just creating that kick-ass cover.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And Ryan is definitely our brother and a team member here. He's with us in spirit even when he's not here, because we've mentioned him like 4 times tonight. But Ryan knocked out some excellent artwork for us for the podcast. I had done the previous artwork, which now feels so generic and cheap that
nobody will ever see it.
No one will ever see it. But he made me feel kind of shitty. And he said, hey, man.
He did it with love.
Can I do some artwork for that? I love this kind of stuff. And I thought, yeah, you can, but I've already fucking got something.
Yeah, I already nailed it. That's what Josh
then,
said.
like, literally 2 hours later, he sends us this epic fucking looking cover that we just fell in love with. He blew it away, so I'm totally excited for it, and we do appreciate that. And we want to shout out John the Bod from Bod's Mayhem Hour. This is a product of their show, Bod's Mayhem Hour. If you have time, check them out on anywhere you listen to podcasts. Give them a subscribe button. He literally just got off the phone with Tim Ripper Owens right before I got here tonight. He's out doing his shit. Go check their show out also. And in the meantime, keep it real, guys. We'll see you next time.
Take care. Now I can't do that anymore.
100 a year.
Yeah, I'm down to about 36.
You read a book in like 2-3 days?
I was. That is correct. But now it's about every 2 weeks. I've really slowed down. Maybe 3 books a month.
John's looking at me like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I love to read.
I could do that.
So when I'm by myself...
John sounds like fucking Meatloaf. I can do that.
Yeah, so before I started recording at home, if I had free time, like by myself, I'd read.
Yeah.
That would always be my go-to thing to do. But now it's mixing.
I
It's
never
driving me
had
crazy.
that desire.
I've been reading since I'm like 10 or 11 years old, man.
That's
love
great. In all sincerity, I wish I had that. I've always wished I had that. I don't. It has to truly be Ozzy, Randy Rhoads, fucking Black Sabbath, or I just can't sit down and do it. I got Paul Stanley's book. I got about 30 pages in that piece of shit. Never read any more of it.
I haven't read
And I
that
love
one.
Paul Stanley. It's just that I just can't. Zach Wilde's book, that's the hardest fucking thing to read I've ever fucking
It's fucking
written.
terrible.
It's
It was terrible. Did you read the Chris Jericho books?
No, I probably would like
They're
that.
great. They're fantastic.
Yeah, I'd probably like. I tried and tried and tried to read fucking Zach's book, man. I tried 4 times. I did get
It was
about
miserable.
halfway.
I finished, but it was like pulling teeth.
What's so wrong with it?
He's never serious.
He's
He's
ne-
like fucking around.
You know that Zach Wilde interview way he does, where he never really answers a question and he's just kind of being Zach, and he's
All over the place.
the book is like that.
It's really hard to read.
It's really hard to read. But now it did have a great story about. I never forget this. The chapter was called "Unimportant People Making Important Decisions." Was the name of the chapter. I remember that stuck with me, and it was about. He said he was at Sony one day for whatever reason. I can't remember why. And they were working on a new release for a Jimi Hendrix compilation, like greatest hits live album, whatever. And he said, I swear, I can't remember how high up the chain this lady was, but he said a lady who was, upper management at Sony. So, well, maybe we can get Mr. Hendrix to go out and do a promotional tour to help sell
No,
the
she
album.
did not. Oh,
yes,
my
it was in that
God.
book.
I don't remember that.
He said, I knew then that that's what we're dealing with at labels like this, and just, unimportant people making important decisions. Like, what the fuck?
That's fucking legendary.
Get Mr. Hendrix to go do a promotional tour for it.